What does it take to support HBCUs in preparing the next generation of financial leaders? Well, it's not just about scholarships or recruiting. It's about building capacity, providing resources, and fostering deep strategic partnerships that strengthen institutions from the inside out. PGIM and Prudential are taking a multi-layered approach, engaging at the student, institutional, and systems level to ensure that HBCUs have the tools, networks, and investments needed to thrive. In today's conversation, we're unpacking what that looks like in practice, the strategies, the challenges, and the opportunities to rethink corporate partnerships, engagement with historically Black colleges and universities. Let's get into it.
This episode of HBCU Voices is made possible through the support of the Prudential Foundation. Prudential is driven by its purpose to make lives better by solving the financial challenges of our changing world. Through our partnerships with HBCUs, we empower their role as economic engines and help communities and individuals achieve greater financial security. Learn more at prudential.com.
Welcome to Voices, a podcast that's focused on uplifting our historically Black colleges and universities. Joining us is Sansia Dali, a managing director of emerging manager portfolio and HBCU investment strategy at PGIM, is joined by Shanae Harris, a 21-year veteran with Prudential, where she serves as the head of social responsibility and president of the Prudential Foundation. Welcome, ladies.
We're happy to be here.
Thank you, Ed. It's great to be here with you.
Well, I am really excited to hear your stories today and how you, as leaders within PGIM and Prudential, champion, advocate, and support our historically Black colleges and universities. But before we get into all the details of the great work that you're doing within your respective organizations, I would love to maybe learn a bit about you. Sansia, let's start with you. Sort of talk to us. Who is Sansia? What got you to this point in your career and the work that you're doing today?
Sure. It's certainly not been a linear path to where I am right now. I'm originally from Jamaica, was born and raised on the little island in the Caribbean, and fortunate enough to experience an immersive exchange program in my teens and knew that I wanted to see the world. I was lucky enough to start my career working with the former U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, Richard Holbrooke. And that allowed me to travel around the world. But it really seeded this interest in working at the intersection of private sector and public good. And so spent most of my career operating at this intersection with a global health lens and then broadly with an international development lens. So advising companies on how to implement strategies for their employees from a health perspective, working with governments across the world to establish initiatives in partnership with private sector to scale access to health delivery and products. And therein just took me on this long journey, then working with a foundation where I led some of their investor engagement activities. And that sort of whet my appetite in the asset management and finance sector. And here I am now in this incredible role at PGIM and working with awesome colleagues like Shanae within our enterprise.
Speaking of Shanae, what's your story?
So like Sansia, it's not a linear one. But I'm born and raised in Newark, New Jersey, which also serves as Prudential's headquarters. So it's really cool to lead the philanthropic strategy that supports my hometown community of Newark. And it's that lens of equity, I think, growing up in the city of Newark that has really guided my personal purpose in my career and led me to Prudential. So I didn't have the privilege of going to a HBCU, which, I'm always sad about that and hoping that my kids will consider them when they're ready to go to college. But always saw the power of pouring into young people and seeing education as an opportunity to level the playing field and to create opportunities that change the outcomes of a family in one generation. That purpose of really wanting to support young people started very early on after graduating from college, realizing I was not going to go into sciences. I was a biology major. My calling was always working in nonprofits and helping young people. And I started my career in the nonprofit sector, did a stint in sports philanthropy, which was interesting. I led the giving program for the New Jersey Nets basketball team and the New Jersey Devils hockey team. That was under joint leadership for about 4 years, with the vision of really building a new arena in the city of Newark as an economic development driver. Fortunately, the Devils are still playing in that arena, which is now called the Prudential Center. We lost the Nets along the way, along the journey to the Barclays Stadium. But, that experience really serving as a bridge from being in the nonprofit arena to working and representing, a brand in the private sector, I think helped shape, the opportunity and possibility of how the private sector could drive impact, social impact, and really support communities. And that led me to an opportunity at Prudential, where I was a program officer leading our education reform strategy at the time, which included the work that Prudential did to support HBCUs. And throughout my 20-year time at Prudential, I have had different hats, all in the space of how do we really leverage the corporation, the full capabilities of Prudential to drive social impact. So it's been a great journey and a privilege to be at Prudential and work with colleagues like Sansia.
Why is a partnership with HBCUs a priority for your org, and what do you imagine the impact of this engagement to be?
I think our support of HBCUs are important because there's a natural alignment with who we are. Prudential is a purpose-driven company, and we've had a 50-year legacy of investing in strategies that help to provide economic opportunity for all. HBCUs are, just by nature of what their missions are, a critical partner for us. HBCUs have been a pathway to economic opportunity for over 300,000 students of color annually, many of whom might not ever go to college or graduate without the supportive environments that HBCUs provide. So we also see them as not only a pathway for opportunity for young people, but they serve as trusted anchor institutions in their communities, not only accelerating economic opportunity, but also serving as a major employer and economic engine in the communities in which they're located. Our support of HBCUs began almost 40 years ago through our partnership with UNCF. And this work has evolved and expanded over the years to also include direct support to HBCUs like Hampton University, Howard University, and FAMU. Really, UNCF actually helped open that door to those deeper relationships over the years. And this partnership has evolved to move beyond traditional philanthropy to include a deep partnership and engagement with our businesses like PGIM. So we've been happy and excited to do this work. To date, Prudential and PGIM have contributed nearly $7 million in grants to HBCUs, strengthening their capacity and offering students scholarships, mentorship, and financial education resources.
Now, when you say 7 million, we say thank you. Thank you. Thank you. But more than the treasure, we do appreciate the time. 40 years is a long time to be a partner supporting historically Black colleges and universities. And to the Prudential Foundation, we very much appreciate our relationship and our partnership with you. Santi, what's your vision from a PGIM side? The foundation we sort of get. We understand their role. But talk to us about the strategy from the sort of corporate side, the actual work of sort of your employees, and what's the strategy there? How can HBCUs benefit from our relationship?
Thank you for that question, Ed. And Shanae summed it up real nicely. This is in our DNA as an institution, as an organization. The work that the Prudential Foundation helped to incubate, the partners that they have worked with historically really set the tone and opened the doors for the business PGIM to enter into. And we are approaching this through the lens of the support of the next generation of investment leaders. We view our ability to work with and lend our competencies to the HBCU ecosystem as a long-term capability for our industry to thrive. This is the competitive advantage for us. And when we think about the ecosystem, we are approaching it through what we like to call the tripod of sustainability. So students, faculty, and endowment professionals. We need to be able to provide access to market intelligence, experiences, and networks so that this tripod can actually thrive in our industry. When we think about how we can add value in partnership with institutions like UNCF, in partnership with individual schools in across the HBCU ecosystem, deploying our human capital is the epicenter of that work. And they are the conduits of our knowledge. This is our greatest asset as a firm. It's what sets us up to be able to perform in our industry. And as a result, we want to be able to parlay that knowledge that we know, the experiences that we have access to, and open some of those doors to this ecosystem. So it's just a continuation of the work that our parent company, Prudential, has done, and it's in our DNA.
We heard Shanae speak to sort of the time and the treasure, but here at UNCF, when we think about partnerships with HBCUs, it's time, it's treasure, and it's talent. So I very much appreciate that, Sansia, because it is in that knowledge sharing, that sharing what you know that can make our institutions better prepared for changes in the future, but also prepare your organization for the dynamics of a changing sort of workforce. And one of the things that I've been sort of most proud of, HBCUs are what we call lower resource institutions, and they don't always have access to the types of free capital that some of their peers may. And in one area where HBCUs traditionally struggle with building wealth is in endowments. You sort of spoke to that, and we had an opportunity to partner with PGIM on a collaboration on an endowment report entitled Investing in Change, a call to action for strengthening private HBCU endowments. Sansia, why did PGIM undertake this research, and how are you working to leverage some of the insights from the report to address knowledge gaps in asset management for HBCUs? And could you, share with us what roles you think collaboration will play as we move forward in strengthening HBCUs endowments?
Sure, Ed. Lots to unpack there as it relates to this report that we did, which was a first of its kind, collaborating with you all at UNCF to really understand the drivers and opportunities in the knowledge gap of endowment professionals. We know that HBCUs typically have fewer than 100 million in assets under management. We're lucky to hear the news that Howard has surpassed other HBCUs and surpassed the $1 billion AUM mark, which is a first in the HBCU community.
Say that again, Sansia. I don't think our audience heard that.
Howard University. Howard University.
Yes.
Is the first HBCU in our country to surpass $1 billion of assets under management. Meanwhile, the top 10 have hundreds of billions of dollars in assets under management. So this is already in of itself a feat that Howard University has achieved. And we're thrilled for that, but it's unfortunate that it took so long. Part of what we wanted to understand at PGIM, like we do with all our other engagement, is where can we best add value? And in order to do that, we needed to understand what's the ecosystem, what are the gaps, and what are the needs of the constituent groups that we want to support. And through that process, in partnership with you, we were able to survey the institutions in your membership. 22 private HBCU endowment professionals participated in our research. This represented roughly about a third of all private HBCUs. And the study, as you mentioned, Ed, was really trying to understand and initiate the conversations around allocation and investment strategies. How strategic are endowment professionals leveraging the endowment proceeds in support of their institutions? And the methodology that we employed really consisted of an online survey. It was anonymous. We led a couple of focus groups, also done through a third party and led in partnership with UNCF. And it provided this very rare glimpse, if you will, into how these institutions leverage their resources to support their students and communities. 4 particular highlights came out of this, and I thought that they were very insightful. And as we've unpacked this, we're learning quite a lot. The first is that smaller HBCUs, typically their endowments limit their ability to scale infrastructure. Most of their non-HBCU counterparts, 44% in fact, are able to use their endowment proceeds to support faculty research, student research, to support the building of, the construction of buildings on campus. But 86% of private HBCUs have to use their endowment proceeds to fund scholarships. Right. Only 6% are able to allocate that capital to support faculty research. That in of itself is a massive gap in the system. The other highlight that came out of this was that HBCU stewards typically have significant fewer investment management resources. So what that means practically, Ed, is for every one dedicated internal investment professional at an HBCU, who, by the way, are often wearing multiple hats, so they're covering other roles across their institutions, at their non-HBCU counterpart, there are 6 investment professionals. Wow. So they are doing an enormous amount with very, very little. The third finding was that HBCUs endowment professionals are typically more risk averse. And we can understand that. The appetite for risk management was just much lower. A quarter of respondents indicated that they had no risk management policies in place, which meant that there was no tailored risk management strategy by asset classes or geographies, for example. And we know that in the investment world, you have to have good risk management policies, strategies in order to maximize that superior risk-adjusted return that we're trying to see as we manage that capital. The fourth finding really was that HBCU professionals typically hold most of their assets in lower risk categories. So, it drags on long-term potential. 13% less of endowment respondents' portfolios were held in alternative asset classes compared to 39% in non-HBCUs. Practically what that meant is that HBCU professionals needed to be able to access liquidity in order to support immediate needs of their schools, like funding scholarships for students. Most times, they're also unfamiliar with alternative investment strategies. And so those were some of the big findings out of this report that came out of our conversations and surveys and really elevated the needs of endowment professionals within the respondent cohort and how we could, as an industry, respond to that, which I'm happy to talk about some more.
Yes, no, I appreciate that. And I actually look forward to the work that we're doing together to really fundamentally think about these endowment professionals and what professional development is offered to them. How do we support their knowledge building so they can start to understand those different asset classes and ways to really move the endowment forward? When we think about that report here at UNCF, a big takeaway for us is the understanding that wealth begets wealth, and that sometimes not having access to the resources also limits the opportunity. And we're very surprised to see, but also at the same time, understand why our institutions are making those choices to really limit their endowment dollars to student scholarships. After all, HBCUs enroll roughly 75% low income or Pell eligible student populations. And so the opportunity to go to college is oftentimes sort of blocked by the ability to pay. And so kudos to all the HBCUs out there that are using those resources that way to support their students. I want to learn a bit more about your student support, because we're going to continue the long journey work of supporting HBCUs in their endowment building, but there's some real need on the ground for our students. Shanae, could you talk to me a bit about Prudential's work engaging HBCU students? How is your organization exposing them to careers in retirement, insurance, and, as Santia just pointed out, asset management?
Yes. In addition to providing financial support, we think a big value that we can bring to the partnership is providing expertise or engaging young people. So, the technical expertise that PGIM can provide on endowments, right, is just an additional value. Our employees, our executives love to connect directly with the young people. We've seen an opportunity to meaningfully engage with students to build awareness of opportunities in the financial services industry. when I went to college, the career pathways that I was aware of is either you're a doctor or a lawyer, maybe an engineer. Other than that, there wasn't a tremendous amount of awareness of the opportunities out there. So we're trying to change that through our engagement. And, this work includes just, being in community with students on campus. It ranges from supporting mentorship activities to career seminars or providing opportunities for young people to network with executives. It also includes even partnering with HBCUs to develop and support curriculum that aligns with industry needs, ensuring students are well prepared for careers in the financial sector. And then also, exposing young people to career pathways that they may not have been aware of. Last fall, we were participating in Hampton University's homecoming. And as part of the homecoming activities, the business school had a leadership application program, and we had a team of Prudential executives and our financial advisors, and particularly talk about their career pathways, talk about what their day-to-day looks like, highlight their personal journeys, which I think, we got a lot of positive feedback from students about personalization and connection to the work. And we try to be intentional to make sure that we are bringing a wide range of executives and leaders on campuses. I think it goes a long way for young people to see people who look like them in roles at Prudential, leadership roles, and to understand what their journey looked like. And I think that alone becomes a great point of inspiration that if they were able to accomplish that, maybe it's possible for me as well.
And I want to jump in here as well, because Shanae is really highlighting a very, very important part of the work that our firm does. We can't underestimate the value of knowledge sharing. At PGIM, this is something that is central to the work that we do on the asset management component, educational gap component. If I give an example, we have what we call PGIM Finance Labs, right? And as Shanae mentioned, Hampton is one of our partner schools. We've had a long relationship with Hampton. We also have a relationship with Florida A&M, FAMU, and we provide through a number of avenues support for technology software within the schools of businesses, both at Hampton and at Florida A&M. And at FAMU, as an example, they were able to triple their licenses for Bloomberg Access. But what does that really mean from a knowledge standpoint? It means that, the over 500 students that are accessing this lab, this finance and analytics lab, now have the ability to be more competitive in external activities and competitions. So a good example of that is in academic year 2023-2024, SBI students placed first and third in Bloomberg's HBCU competition. PGIM was able to leverage some of our leaders, senior leaders within our firm, to provide advice and guidance in the preparation of their competition. They came second in Bloomberg's trading competition last year as well. So this is really having an outsized impact, not just for the individual, but collectively the institution. So as Shanae was saying, being able to identify amongst our employee base leaders who are able to provide their own experiences and knowledge of the work that they do and impart that to the student population, but then practically help guide those students who then become competitive and start winning awards and getting visibility for the work that they're doing. I can't underscore enough how much that knowledge gap and bridging that knowledge gap is critical as we build a pathway for some of these next generation leaders in our finance industry and certainly in the asset management industry.
We're partnering with Prudential on a wealth building initiative, and there's a blueprint strategy that's been developed at your org. Tell our audience about Blueprint.
Blueprints to Black Wealth is Prudential's first holistic growth strategy, really focused and centered around better understanding the financial journey of Black Americans and tailoring strategies that really help support Black Americans and their ability to pursue and build generational wealth. We've been excited to support our individual insurance and retirement businesses in helping them to have a different conversation with the community, but also helping to connect more individuals with tools and resources that help build their confidence and their financial education around wealth building and help them take action, whatever that may be. The strategy helps to meet people where they are on their journeys. We have launched this in key markets across the United States and have used HBCUs as a great thought partner to help us engage with people about wealth building. What does money mean to them? But also to help build and bring people along on their financial journey. So we're really happy to be able to introduce this new platform to HBCUs in particular.
At the heart of every great institution, every game-changing initiative, and every transformative student experience is not just capital, but conviction. And what we appreciate about PGIM and Prudential is that you're not just investing your dollars. You're investing in dreams. You're investing in infrastructure and the audacity of HBCUs to maintain their role as epicenters of excellence within their communities. You get that it's not just about keeping the lights on, but also about making sure that those lights shine bright, wider, and longer than ever before. So I really appreciate both of your perspectives and what your organizations have now been doing for 4 decades in support of HBCUs. As we wrap today's conversation, I just have one question for the both of you. Sansia, what's your vision for the future of HBCUs and the students who attend these historic institutions?
Oh my gosh. I have a bold, audacious vision. And a lot of that is as a result of the boldness and audacity of the leadership and the students themselves of these institutions. And I just want to pause a little bit, Ed, and acknowledge and center that the faculty of these institutions, because without them, the students don't have the mechanism to learn. And we collectively, between, across Prudential and certainly in PGIM, are really working towards trying our best to support the faculties within the schools we partner. So special shout out to Dr. Hayes, Dr. Tony, Drs. Kim at Hampton, Dean Bates, and Dr. Daniels, Dr. Marsh, Professor Sam, Dr. Friday at FAMU, because they give me the inspiration to have this bold and audacious vision for these institutions. And as someone whose parents believed equally in my academic schooling as much as they did in my lived experiences, sacrificed quite a lot for me to be able to achieve both. I want the same for students at HBCUs. My vision is that they stay intellectually curious, that they remain brave in taking risks to partner with organizations like ours, that they continue to serve as the epicenters of excellence, not just for the communities that they serve, but for society broadly. So many leaders have come out of HBCUs who have been game changers in our politics, in our social, in our health, in our engineering, in science and other areas in our society. And we need that to continue. And so I hope that our industry will see HBCUs not merely as a pipeline for headcount, but really view HBCUs as long-term partners who can help our industry to outperform. And by doing that, dig deep into their engagements with HBCUs through financial support, but also leveraging their human potential and the technological resources that they have access to.
And I would just echo everything that Sansia said. I think her passion just came through, and we're both very passionate about this work and very committed personally to the work of HBCUs. So my wish would be to just make sure that when we think 100 years from now, that these institutions are still thriving, they're still serving as centers of excellence, and they're not only serving young people and continuing to be a pathway and a pipeline to generational wealth for individuals, but that they're also helping communities grow and thrive. We commend the work of UNCF in joining us to support those efforts. So that has been great. And just again, really appreciate us having this conversation, this important conversation today.
Absolutely. It's been a joy working with you, Ed, and the team at UNCF. It's been terrific. And we're really looking forward to continuing that relationship.
Yes, and the feelings are mutual. And I just want to thank you both for your time and sharing today. I think our audience learned a lot. I know I learned a lot, and I look forward to our continued partnership as we move forward. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I really appreciated speaking with two leaders in the financial services industry today about their investment with HBCUs, and I'm just left with this final thought. HBCU partnerships aren't about one side giving and the other side receiving. They're about mutual investment, shared growth, and collective impact. PGIM and Prudential get it. True partnerships are a two-way street. It's not just about writing checks. It's about building relationships, lasting value. HBCUs bring unmatched talent, history, and resilience to the table. And when corporate partners engage with intentionality, it's a win-win. These institutions aren't just beneficiaries. They're powerhouses of innovation, leadership, and economic transformation. But here's the real challenge. We can't think small. Engagement can't be transactional or siloed. It has to be holistic. Supporting students without investing in the institutions that shape them, well, that's short-sighted. Strengthening institutions without addressing the broader system that governs them is just a missed opportunity. The real work happens at all three levels: students, institutions, and systems. That means ensuring students have access and opportunity, institutions have resources and capacity, and the broader ecosystem that supports them has long-term success. PGIM and Prudential understand that real impact isn't about checking a box, it's about changing the game. And in this conversation, one thing became crystal clear. When partnerships are done right, HBCUs don't thrive, they lead.